Welcome to my channel. My name is Vera. I'm a professional set builder and I also sometimes build furniture, and this is exactly what we're going to do today. I am building a cabinet shaped like a hilly landscape. Usually projects involving wood are very straightforward and very much straight, right angles, 90-degree faces, maybe 45-degree faces if you're very wild, but usually it's very straight and angular. I am going to add round to this, and I think it's going to look amazing, but I do still have to pull it off. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh my goodness, I have given myself a challenge with this one. Made this design with only me in my head, with me being like, oh, I really like this design and I would like to make this. So I didn't think about the consequence of me actually making this design. Let's get started. We are starting this project with gathering my materials and cutting everything down to size. I am using a light plywood to make all the different pieces, which will make this cabinet sturdy and a good base for paint. Then it's time to start on the base for the top part of this cabinet. I am making a frame out of the same plywood as the rest of the cabinet, and on top of that a bendable plywood will go. I draw out the shape that I want on a piece that is the same length as the full cabinet. Then I use my jigsaw to roughly cut out the shape. With a lot of sanding, I create my final curve. This is just one of the ribs of this frame, so the other ones I make similarly, but instead of sanding, I use my router to copy my first shape. It was a bit of figuring out how to get a couple of shapes this thin to stay together, but I found a very good double-sided tape, and it was so good it took quite a bit of strength to pull them loose. Then I put all the shapes together with some spaces in between, and I let them dry. I have made the top part of the cabinet, and this is so much more challenging than I expected it to be. It's wild! The idea of this cabinet is that it goes up here in the middle. That is a rounded edge. And this corner here and the corner on the other side of this cabinet is also a rounded edge. Basically, there's round on all sides. Wood is not round, but it is actually going quite alright. This top part needs to be covered, but before I can do that, I actually need to make the bottom part of the cabinet. I am going to make sure that the shelves have a bit of a ledge to sit on. To make ledges for my shelves, I first have to measure out where each is going to go. This took a bit of time because it needed to be super precise. Once I have these measurements, the dusty part starts. I use my router to make a little bit of a groove just big enough for my shelves. Doing it this way makes the shelves a bit sturdier than if I were to use just glue or just screws. I have made the grooves for the shelves of the inside of the cabinet, and I'm now going to dry fit them. So I'm going to put everything together and see if it will actually fit together and stay where it should stay. That's the first moment that we'll see how this cabinet will look. Exciting stuff. Dry fitting to me is such a necessary but nerve-wracking step. It shows where the mistakes are and what needs to be fixed before assembly. Now, I want things to be right immediately, but that is just not always the case, and neither it was this time. I am currently very happy with how this looks. There's still lots to do, but I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go home and have a good sleep, and then I'm coming back tomorrow. It's been a day of thinking today. This test fit is a big success because it has shown me the problems. These shelves on this side are slightly too thin, and that's a bit of an issue because then it wobbles, and I really want a tight fit. The problem is I don't really have enough material to cut a lot of things down, and this brings me to the next thing that I really need to fix. I didn't measure the round corners in my 3D design, and this has caused the doors that I already cut down to be the wrong size. For this client, I also have to make something else. Current thinking is that I am going to switch around some parts. The parts for the other things are these, and if I take two of them, I can still make some doors out of that. And then from the old doors that are slightly too small, I can make new shelves for these these that are slightly too small. I really want to get this cabinet done, but now I have to remeasure, resolve, redo a lot of things, and that's why we test fit. That's why I test fit everything that I do. Honestly, woodworking is just fixing problems and using the right tools to do so. In this case, it was not too bad of a problem and I had a big saw to fix it. Then it's time to continue with making some grooves with my router for a backing panel. When I verified that this backing will actually fit, I make the groove on the other side panels and then I finish with making templates for the curved corners. I have the cabinet pieces here right behind me, and so far this cabinet has been so much fun, but it's also been really hard. I've been ill. I had 2 things right after the other, and it has been giving me pudding brain, what I like to call, which basically means that when something goes in, it also jumps out again. Like pudding, it bounces. What it means for this is that I've been making so many tiny mistakes, sometimes of a couple of millimeters, sometimes of a couple of centimeters, and every single time I've had to correct them. It's just been a bit of a tedious process because I've been making so many tiny mistakes. But right now we are actually getting there. I almost have all the pieces that we need to finish all the construction parts. There are still a couple of things that need to be done before we can actually start the assembly. Let me show you. This needs to be 1 millimeter shorter. These pieces need to be trimmed slightly as well. Templates of the rounded edges still need a trim. This shelf is slightly too thin, so I am going to make another one. It is a baseboard that I still need to cut out right here on all of these pieces, and I need to cut down some bendy wood, and I'm going to start with that. There actually are a couple of ways to make wood bendable, but in my case, for this cabinet, I have decided to use a bendable plywood. This plywood was supposed to come in the same color as the cabinet, but it has a slightly darker hue, which is not necessarily a problem, but it will take an extra coat of base paint later in the project. After cutting down the bendy wood, I continue with my other tasks, like making roofs, cutting away space for the baseboard, and dry fitting yet again. I have a bit of a problem with the bendy wood. The curves that they have to make for the rounded edges, the curve is not curving. So I am currently testing out a new thing that I've never done before, and that is soaking this completely in water and then see how bendable it is. I am hoping this will work. Let's try it. I love trying something new, but when there is pressure for something to look alright and be finished in time, it is slightly scary to just try. However, I am doing it anyways. I'm starting with the bigger curve, which in hindsight might not have been the best choice, but I didn't know that yet. I just came into the workshop after leaving this curved piece to dry overnight, and I'm gonna see if it actually worked. And I already took off the first thing and it seems like it is working, so fingers crossed. It worked. It is a bit hairy. There's a bit of sanding and then putting it in its place. I think this is actually gonna work. I'm so happy. I was so worried yesterday, but it works. It works. We have a curved piece of wood. I'm going to cut the other piece immediately and put it in its clamps, and then we have 2 curved pieces for the cabinet. With everything that I've learned, I tried to make the smaller curve. Now, during this process, I already noticed a bigger struggle with this piece, but my hope kept standing and I ignored my brain. So I watered the piece, let it dry in a curved position, and went on with attaching it to the side. Then I attach the templates and start with gluing up all the parts. Only to realize that the templates for the curves need slight adjustment and I need to take them off and reattach them. When I've done that, the bigger curved piece actually seems to fit well, and I leave it at that, thinking that the other piece will be fine too. Good morning. I am very happy to say that this part of the cabinet is actually kind of solid now. I'm only here for a really short time this morning, so I will be doing the part on the other side now, and hopefully that will go just as smoothly. The curve is a lot tighter, so I'm kind of worried it's not gonna stay. We're gonna see. We're gonna try. Hopefully we'll be fine. Full of hope and stubbornness, I start with the glue up of the other side with the tighter curved corner. Of course it broke. And because it was already attached, I had to take it off with force, remove all the nails I used for this, and then I had to remove the leftover material and re-strategize. So then it's time to use the last way that I know for bending wood, curve cutting. It's making small grooves next to each other, allowing the wood to bend more easily, because there's just less material in the way. I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed, and then I tried one more time. So now I am on my third attempt, and this piece, it hasn't cracked yet. I have high hopes for this one because the bend already is really nice. It goes very flexibly, and I think this will be the one. The construction part is almost done. Oh my god, it's been taking so long. To be honest, this has been a really fun project so far. Just figuring out how the bends go and kind of thinking about all the solutions that I need. My brain has melted multiple times already, but it's also been really fun. However, I've had probably the worst time in my life physically. It has caused me to be incredibly tired. It has caused me to be a bit in the way of my own brain, and I'm very much fed up with it. So today is the day. Today is the day we're gonna finish construction. Let's get to work. Did I finish construction on this one day? No, I did not, but I got pretty far and my attitude stayed in the next couple of days, so I could put in a couple of hours every day to get this cabinet finished. It's a long process building something like this, but when it's starting to look like something good, it's just very rewarding. I can't believe a couple of years ago I didn't even know the existence of a table saw, and now I am building a cabinet with a million curves and so many tricky parts. I am just saying, it's never too late to learn something new, and it's most definitely never too late to just start going down a path and not knowing if you like it. Right, after assembly, it's time to start finishing, and the first step is always filling the gaps. The construction is completely done. It does still need a little bit of work before I can start painting. My task for today is just sanding, because this filler, it fills up the holes, but I don't want any bumps. I want it to be real nice and smooth, so basically I have to kind of get rid of basically all the filler except for the parts where they're actually filling something. I sand and I sand and I sand, and I'll sand some more. The trick with any type of filler is that you really want to only leave the filler that is in the actual gap. Everything that is still visible on the outside will not look good when you varnish it, because varnish shows every lump and bump that you made. So sanding is the way to go. And after that, base coating. I have to do 2 coats to make sure that there will be no color difference with the bendy wood being a different hue. And while that is drying, I get started on making the doors. For now, it's just the shape that needs doing. I've done all the things that I could do for this cabinet in the pre-making phase, and I am currently working on the finishing phase. I still need to do a coat of varnishing on all of the white parts. I need varnishing on all of the non-white parts. I need to make a design on the doors. I need to install some insulation. There's still a lot to be done. What I am going to try to do today is base coat the cabinet doors where there needs to be a design on. I have only tomorrow and tonight. Let's go. The design I am making on the doors is based on classic wood paneling, but with paint. Now I won't know what this looks like until I take off the tape, so here's to hoping for the best and trusting in my skills. It's the final day. I have so much to do. The main thing that I need to do is painting. So much painting, but it's not really gonna look as if there's anything changing, because this is already white. It's gonna be slightly off-white. Yay! big change. And the inside is just gonna have a transparent varnish. So it's gonna change from this to this. It's not really gonna be riveting content. So I have decided to do a montage. In my trying to make this montage as enjoyable as possible, I did not want to compromise on one important thing: the peelies. I did so many peelies because of the design on the doors, and all of them went exquisitely. To be honest, this for me was the most scary moment of the entire project. I would have had to postpone placing the cabinet if this would have gone wrong, but I trusted, and honestly, it's looking amazing. Then finally, it's time for the last little bits and bobs. And for that, we are moving location. I am in my client's house because this cabinet is going to hide these pipes in the hallway. They are part of the floor heating system. Because it's slightly noisy, I am adding some non-flammable insulation to the inside of the middle compartment, and then it's time to put her in her place. She's done! This project was such a cool one. I really enjoyed making this cabinet. It was so many things that I had to figure out, so it was a challenge throughout, but she is now standing here and I am so proud of how she turned out. I think she is beautiful. I didn't think I would love this cabinet so much, but I do. I kind of want to take it home, but I also don't want to assemble, disassemble, and reassemble her. So I guess this is where she stays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed making. And if you did, maybe like, subscribe, comment for what you think I should make next. And then I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna go sleep for about a month, I think. Bye! Whee! What do we need? But just the final pieces of the puzzle and puzzle. Puzzle? What is a puzzle? Making stuff is cool.